quick interruption to make note of our 2 discount codes from our awesome sponsors so you guys can go get you some good gear at a discounted price. The first one is for Hook and Gaff. You can use the discount code LOVEGOLF15, all one word, and the number 15 is just the digits. That'll get you 15% off of your order. And then for Cricket shirts, you can go and use For Love of 19. That's FORE. And then again, the digits for 1919. Hope you enjoy. Go get you some cool stuff. That'll help them know that we sent you. And we hope you enjoy the goodies. Thanks, everybody. What's up, guys?
That's perfect. That's the open right there.
That's a
Thank you.
cold
I should have
open.
said it.
Welcome, fellas. And just another episode of For Love of Golf coming at you. Oh, I don't have an athlete for this one. 45? Anybody have any 45s?
I mean, you can do some basketball players for sure, or racers,
I'm
right?
I'm good on 47, but
Oh,
I
you
don't
know
have a
one? I got
45.
one. Julius Peppers, Carolina number 45.
Hey, good call. Oh, and Jordan. Come on.
Oh, Jordan, that was
Jordan.
dumb. Yeah, that was really
Well,
dumb. That
yeah.
was really dumb. Yeah, Jordan.
You just don't think about him as
Duh.
45, but
Yeah.
but he was okay. Yeah, welcome. Episode 45, nearing the half century mark.
Yeah.
We're still employed. We still have a podcast. We fired Justin, but
Yeah.
the three of us are here. Um,
Spoiler.
Poor Justin. Well, actually, Hunter was the first one to take a week off in the one and done last week.
Apparently.
Uh,
My really like hopes and dreams of Tony Finau winning the biggest tournament of his life
With the
went
other
slightly
direction.
downhill,
it
and he
happens.
finished.
We
At least he
love
made the cut,
Tony.
though. At least he made the cut.
That
He
is
could have.
true. We'll get right into that. Unfortunately, Tony did struggle after the first round, but we still love Tony. I'm not sure what place he finished, but he made $50,750.
He
Pretty
finished
good for a bad week.
second to last making the cut, if that whatever that means, 40 something. So yeah,
It's a pretty good off week.
yeah,
Um, let's see. Next in line, I guess, was me. Honestly, we had a pretty good week as a team. The other three, Russell Henley finished. What did he finish, Hunter?
he was Russell Henley. What was he? I lost it. Sorry. Oh no, I don't have it anymore. He was.
That's all right.
How
He
much
played
money do you
okay.
make? Yeah,
He made $409,027,
yeah,
so not a bad week.
yeah.
Followed by Sepp Straka for Ryan, who made $731,250 for a week's worth of work. And Ludwig, disappointing for Justin. Um, that one hurt. However, it won't hurt him as much as this week's going to hurt him. 925,000 for Ludwig. Good thing Justin wasn't vacationing during the players, is all I can say.
Yeah, that's right.
So he will be the first recipient of the mystery pick that we'll all find out tomorrow. He will get last place to make the cut. And honestly, I can't remember what we said we'd do for ties. Do you? Do you get to pick your player?
Well, oh, I got yeah, because it's one and done. That's a great question. I don't think we discussed that. No, I think we
Hmm.
I
should
feel like we
pick
made
one.
that plan in one of the episodes, but I
All
can't
right.
remember what it was.
Hmm.
It might have been you got to pick your player of those that were tied for last.
All right, that's fair. That's fine, I guess.
So let's go ahead and make ours. Um, first of all, blast from the past leaderboard.
It
If
is a
anybody
little
happened to take a look, Webb Simpson T7 and
bit.
Brant Snedeker in second place.
Yeah, where'd that one come from?
I mean, love to see it.
Hmm. He must have been putting the lights out of it today. I want to look at it today, actually. Because that is, I mean, like, yeah, that's impressive.
President's Cup captain this year, I believe. Is that
Is he
right?
really? Oh, that's cool.
Um,
Yeah,
at
he was
Medina.
number one in putting today, so that makes sense.
Imagine that. At how old is he now?
I don't know. Let me see his profile here.
I mean,
I
that's
would
pretty good
guess
to be able to keep rolling the rock
45.
that well. At
45. That was
45?
probably
Yeah.
about my guess. I
Gosh,
was
that's
gonna
hard
say
to
mid
believe.
40s. So,
Good for him. I still wish there was a year he was so close to winning the Masters and was a heartbreaking year. That was,
really, I don't remember that. What year was that? That's
yeah, I remember he had a really hard press conference afterwards. Like it
oh,
really meant a lot to him. I can't remember what year that was. I'll have to figure that out. But
yeah.
um, I always like Brant Snedeker.
Oh,
Seems
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
a really likable guy. Um, all right, boys, who we picking?
Well, I've lost the leaderboard, so you guys go because I was looking up
Two,
Branson Ecker. So,
2008, he finished third at the Masters, and he finished
hmm.
sixth in 2013. That was probably it. He was in the final pairing in 2013 and finished
Hmm.
sixth.
Was that who won that year, Bubba or
2013? Mm,
it wasn't Adam Scott? Adam Scott was 2012, wasn't he?
Is
actually, I don't
that
know no, that
Cabrera
was
you're
Adam
Oh, it
looking
Scott
was
at?
Adam
then.
Scott. Adam
Yeah,
Scott.
Adam
Yeah.
Scott and Cabrera
Right. Yeah.
playoff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What a leaderboard. Jason Day, Mark Leishman, Tiger Woods. All right, let's see. Leaderboard for this week. Hunter cannot pick Pearson Cootie.
I cannot pick Pearson Coody, unfortunately.
Ryan cannot
Sorry,
pick
somebody know.
Bridgman. I cannot pick Aaron Rye.
Did one of you pick Ricky Castillo or is that Justin?
Oh,
Or
you know
nobody?
what?
That was
It won't
Adam.
matter.
Um,
He can't pick him
No,
this week.
yeah.
Nobody picked him. Also, a good week to not have double events for Fabling too.
Mm,
Yeah.
hmm.
Hmm. Let's see. Ryan, you were the leader in the clubhouse for the three of us that are here. You
Okay.
have the honors.
Well, I've been burned not doing this in weeks past. So this week I will go with the round one leader, Sung J M.
All right. Ryan's going for the wire to wire victory with Sung Jae.
The guy shot 7 under with 3 bogeys today. So he had a lot of circles on his card.
Can I just say I heard today that, Sung Jae and I can't remember, obviously one of the other Korean players won a gold medal together in some it's like Pan American Games or something. I can't remember what it was. Not That's probably not it. I
The
don't even know what Pan
2023
American
Asian
means, but
Games.
okay,
Is
2023 Asian Games.
yeah.
And so they got their military service knocked way down. They only had to do 3 weeks of military service, and he did it. Did he do it this fall?
Yeah,
Or was it
November.
another? He did it this fall. It took
Yeah.
3 weeks, got his military service out of the way, got hurt right after that, apparently. I don't know that it was during it, and missed some starts this year. So welcome
Yep.
back. 30 on the back nine, his front nine with a bogey. Good start.
That's pretty solid.
All right, enough stalling you two.
Yeah, seriously, I'm like looking up stats here. Parker,
Uh,
go. You're next anyway.
gosh, I am going to take
Got Xander
Jacob Bridgman.
Schauffele, Matt. Okay. All right.
Nice. That's a pretty good one. He's been hot, obviously, so that's
Yeah.
probably a good time to take him. Has anybody won wire to wire? Have we done that yet? Have we had a wire to
No,
wire
it's been
winner?
it's been kind of a theme that the wire to
Hmm.
wire guys don't get it done on Sunday. It was
It's really hard to do.
It is really hard.
Berger was wire to wire and didn't win. Obviously Oberg, I think, was close to
Yep.
it, if not. Um, there might have been a third one. I think it was
Was
like th three
Jacob
weeks,
Bridgman, did he do it? I think did he win wire to wire?
maybe, maybe.
Yeah, I
Can't
don't know. That's a
remember.
good question.
Let me see.
Hunter's still stalling.
No, I think I got who I'm going to take. I can make my official pick. I think I'm going to take Davis Thompson. He's
Hmm.
two back, good ball striker, and he putted really well today. So I'm hoping that that wasn't just a streak and that he's going to keep putting well and he's going to end up winning this week because he's a good ball
S-
striker. So
Speaking of, I'm really disappointed in myself.
Mhm.
I meant to put this in the open last week. I was going to slide it in there, but you were speaking about putting. I was thinking about I saw you on Instagram. You were
Mm.
presenting about putting. Big award winner. Round of applause for our own Hubie Brown, Teacher of
Yeah.
the Year.
For the chapter, to be
Hey,
fair.
who
To be
cares?
fair. But no, I'm
Teacher
not
of the
saying
Year
it.
for the
I'm not
Mid-Atlantic PGA.
diminishing. I'm just
What do you
being
call it? The
accurate.
Southern chapter?
Yes, the Southern chapter,
Southern
which is
chapter of the
yeah,
Mid-Atlantic
yeah,
PGA.
yeah.
Hunter Brown, Teacher of the Year.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that was
Well
cool.
done. What did you
Yeah.
present on at your thing?
I did it on putting actually. Yeah, I did. There's kind of like I just got back from what you're referring to as the teaching and coaching summit for the MAPGA. We have it every year, and just outside of DC at Lansdowne Resort, and
Very thematic for this episode, by the way, the DC connection. I like what you did.
yeah, it was a good DC connection, and it was a great 2 days. And I was kind of like they allowed the different. There's three different chapters in the Mid-Atlantic. So you got the Northern chapter, which is basically Maryland, Central chapter, which is basically DC and like surrounding towns in DC, and then Southern chapter, which is basically Virginia, more or less. So they
So
let us
you're
kind of
saying that you won in the biggest chapter by far,
no
is
no
what we're
not
saying.
by
I'll say it.
landmass.
I'll say it for you. You don't have to say it. I'll say it for you.
not by golf facilities. I'm assuming they're all probably pretty equal. Maybe DC is even the biggest one. I don't know. It's a good
All
question.
right. Well,
Um,
people don't worry about fact checking us.
yeah, it's true. It's true. But yeah, I got to be a part of the last presentation where they kind of had three groups and people went around to the different groups and went through them. So it's fun. It's cool. Like yeah, Jim Hardy was a speaker the earlier that day, so like I don't know, that's pretty cool. Obviously they recognize Bernie Najar, who's Teacher of the Year for the PGA this year, who's in our section, which is pretty cool. And yeah, James Lights was there, which I've heard him speak many times, and he's fantastic. He's a great speaker, obviously super knowledgeable, and um, I think he's been runner-up teacher of the year a bunch of times, but I don't know if he's actually won it. I could be wrong on that one, but it was cool. It was a good time for sure.
Any hot topics about putting that you need to lay out there?
I mean, we've kind of done them on here a little bit. I mean, I definitely went through the impact location is not
Doesn't matter.
super important. And like, well, I mean, when you're in speaking, one of those things, and like the session that I was a part of was meant to be a little more interactive. Um, so I was trying to find topics that maybe were a little I don't, not controversial. I believe all of them, by the way. So it's not like I'm saying anything that's not true, but I was trying to create a little bit of conversation in them. So yeah, I mean, I talked about how impact location is probably not super important, and really just like what is important from a performance perspective in putting, and that maybe it's not the things that we sometimes can obsess over, like start line and stroke and impact location, how the ball rolls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
Can I putt with my 8802 and not fear that I'm leaving a lot of strokes out there on the greens, even with miss hits?
So, I mean, like, here's a cool one. So a lot of this information I get is all the information I get is not from me, right? Like, I'm not doing any testing or research or whatever. Like obviously I'm doing anecdotal testing with my players and students, but I don't have answers, right? So it's all coming from them. So Sasha put out a tweet yesterday. It's pretty cool. So stack putting, they have tens of thousands of users. And if you do the stack putting and you put your putter in there, what style putter you're using, he went through and kind of filtered out the data. And he had three different groups, blade putters, mid mallets, and mallets. And to put a caveat on this, he put it in the tweet. This is not scientific. It just was interesting. So don't take any conclusions from this by any means. But from a strokes gain perspective, which one do you think? And the handicaps were all very similar, all like 7.2 on average between the three groups. But what do you think was the best putter from a performance standpoint?
I
Blade.
mean, probably the way you're asking the question and still based on my knowledge, I would probably say like mid mallet, but
Yeah, like we would assume like mallet or mid mallet. And like again, this is not science by any means. So like don't say this is law, but it was the blades. And it wasn't like it was enough significantly better to be like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of factors that could be into that. Like, hey, maybe better putters tend to use blades because they're not searching for something and they're not going to a mallet. Like I use a mallet because traditionally I haven't been a great putter. So like, I mean, maybe there's some of that, but I don't know. It was just kind of interesting and it was timed well because I got to use it as an example for sure.
it's timed very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, congratulations bringing home
Appreciate
the
it.
hardware. It's
Thank you.
impressive.
Yeah, it's cool.
Impressive. Proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And like we said, the DC connection, we got a great episode here. Uh, this one is just kind of like a little mind bending to think about like the trail of this career of the fella that we had on tonight. Just the different bounces around different careers and how he kind of weaved it together. But our paths crossed with Josh Stueve almost 2 decades ago at this point, which is really hard to believe.
Yeah, it's funny when he
Um,
said that. He said he went to Scioto when his daughter was 3 and now she's 21. So that
yeah,
dated
it's
it a bit.
that's wild.
Yeah, it is pretty
Um,
well.
this was Ryan's first time meeting him, but
Yep.
um, I thought it was a really good podcast, a lot of really good anecdotes and stories and information and life lessons and golf stuff. Um, he's seen a lot of different things. So it's really fun to have Josh Stueve on. He is currently the editor-in-chief for Carolina's Golf Magazine, but that just seems to like be a really pitiful way of describing what he does. Not that Carolina's Golf Magazine it's amazing, but like that just doesn't do justice to the rest of his career that he had leading up to this. And then what he's done with the magazine is like wild. I mean, if anybody has seen it, it's basically the Golfer's Journal um, in Carolina's golf form. And I think he would um, agree with that probably to some extent. I mean, I think he took a lot of inspiration from the Golfer's Journal. He's written for the Golfer's Journal. Um, so we're really blessed to have that in the Carolinas section and have him doing that. I know he's done a lot of work in different areas, obviously. Seems like a pretty good job if you get to go hang out with all these guys and take them to these really cool places and let them photograph it and maybe play a little golf and
Yeah, might get a few strokes in for sure. No, it does sound like a pretty cool gig. And it sounds like that he really is enjoying it too. Like that was very clear that he loves what he's doing. Um, which is interesting considering like the background had tangentially had something to do with it, but not exactly. So it's pretty cool.
yeah, it's probably a lot less stressful than the other jobs he's had.
I would imagine so.
These deadlines probably don't really compare to the other ones he's had.
100%.
Um, but yeah, you guys, hopefully you'll listen to the whole thing, and really learn some stuff out of it. Because I mean, from being the basically, I guess, press secretary, Department of Justice, Department of Defense, right in the middle of a lot of different things. Um, U.S. Marine, starting in 1999 and going on for 8 years. I mean, you can imagine, and a young looking 46 years old. I
Mm,
got to hand
yeah.
it to him on that.
Yeah.
Should have told
That's
him that.
yeah. So well done, Josh. But again, this was a fun one, boys. Always good to catch up. We'll do this again next week.
Sounds
Fun
good.
one next week. I think I misspoke last time, said we were supposed to have cricket on this week. That was clearly not what happened. That's next week. So stay tuned.
Perfect.
We'll have some good clothing conversation and we'll find out what inspired the look that, I mean, makes us all look as good as we do on here. So,
That's right.
all right, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Next week,
Yeah.
we'll see
See
you.
you next time.
Yeah.
If you're someone who knows it's time to put the phone down and be present with your family or in the outdoors, this one's for you. Whether your escape is the golf course, the water, or the field, Hook and Gaff Watch Company makes watches built for time that actually matters. Assembled right here in the Carolinas, Hook and Gaff watches feature scratch-resistant sapphire crystal, lightweight titanium, and rugged designs made to handle real adventure without sacrificing style, because performance should look good too. Strap on a Hook and Gaff watch and get back to what matters most. Hook and Gaff Watch Company. Time well spent. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of For Love of Golf. We got four guys here. We're missing one. Fablings. I meant to text him and get his final words so that we could tell him for him. So we'll have to make something up. But unfortunately, Justin is stuck on vacation. Poor guy. But we filled in for him nicely. We've got Joshua Stueve here, editor in chief, I believe. That would be your working title here with Carolina's Golf Magazine. But you've held a lot of titles. We'll get into those in a little bit. But welcome, bud. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
This is something we're looking forward to doing. Hunter and I have known you now for a long time, longer than it seems at this point now. It's
It is,
pushing
It's a
yeah,
like
little
20
scary.
years, which is crazy
yeah.
to even
Yeah.
fathom that that's the case. But I still remember you showing me that there were about 10 different ways that you could kill me when we were at in the golf shop at Scioto or just outside it. And I learned not to mess with a Marine. So welcome, and we appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I'm excited to be with you. I still remember one of my first memories of you, Parker,
Hmm,
was
this could go
being
either way.
so being so blown away about how this little guy could hit the ball so far.
And again, we say that was nearly 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this was 18, 19-year-old Parker, all 135 pounds, dripping wet, just absolutely pounding the golf ball. So
And
I
also how straight he hit it too. Like when people say he
yeah,
couldn't hit out of the shadow, they don't mean by distance wise. They mean like so pure. I mean, literally,
yeah,
Parker is
yeah,
driver of the golf ball, like really always been really, really, really good at it. That's for sure.
Wow, this feels nice. Anybody
Yeah, we
else?
got
Throw,
more
feel
for
free to
you.
throw some more if you got it.
I mean, you were throwing me under the bus a minute ago, so and I'm
Yeah,
giving you nice
it's,
things.
it's
So
very nice, very
this is
kind.
how this friendship
It's
works,
very
basically.
kind.
I feel like
Yeah,
I need to say something terrible to balance this out. This
yeah,
is
you
this is
probably do.
too feel
please,
good.
man.
So I'm coming to you, Josh. You're the first one that's going to get this question. I was sitting in a meeting yesterday, and this conversation came up, and I was like, "That's going to be a great cold open question for a podcast because I think everyone will have some kind of story with it." So, when was the last time you sprinted?
Ooh. Oh, like not on a treadmill?
Yeah, like
Uh,
legitimately, we're
um,
running outside.
not exercising.
No,
Like something happened and you had to sprint.
yeah, exercising's too easy.
Oh, God. I think it was when my dog got out.
Yeah,
We've got a little, Staffordshire pit bull, and she is an escape artist. And we moved here to Wilmington, just down by the Cape Fear River, and brand new to the neighborhood. And she escaped, and we had no idea where she was. And I went out on the street, and I saw her about a half a block down, and I was barefoot, and I just took
of
off after
course.
her. So yeah, that was probably a year ago.
Yeah. I think that question breeds good stories. That reminds like that's like one time my dog got out and like you said, you're barefoot. It doesn't happen at convenient times. It seems
Yeah,
like
never.
I remember we lived near like a pretty decently sized like road, like 55 miles an hour or something speed limit. And I'm in like basketball shorts and cowboy boots. So like the cowboy boots are like almost touching the shorts. I probably don't have any socks on and like a t-shirt running down the side of the road chasing after the dog. So I
I'm
know how
very
that
interested to know what was going on that had you in basketball shorts and cowboy
it's
boots.
a great question. I think it was probably they were the quickest thing I had right next to me. I threw them on and there we go. And somebody saw me and still talks about that every now and then. Not that long ago they brought that up. I feel like about me in the shorts and cowboy boots. This is a great look, I'm sure. Awesome scene.
Mm.
Okay, so thank you for entertaining me on that question. Um, tell us about little Joshy Stevie growing up, where you came from,
Mhm.
a little bit of background on life as a kid before you left home. So take us all the way up till you
Yeah.
kind of leave the house.
Well, I'll give you the short version. So, grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Uh, you
Flyers.
know, Southern Ohio. Yeah, go Dayton Flyers. Dad was the season ticket holder when I was a kid.
Okay.
He was a plumber. We didn't have much money, but he found a way to get basketball tickets. But yeah, I grew up in Southern Ohio, and just very kind of lower middle class. Dad was a plumber, mom was a secretary. Didn't belong to a country club or anything like that. Played, was constantly outside as a kid, playing sports, baseball, basketball, football. Um, and then, after after high school, enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was 19 years old. So
When
that's
did
when my
you know
Marine
you
Corps
wanted to
story
do
started.
that?
Well, my grandfather had served in the Navy in World War II. My dad was in the Army in Vietnam. And so
So you were going to do something different.
I kind
You
of
weren't
wanted to
going
one up him a
Army or
little bit.
Navy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There it is. There it is. Yeah. You
yeah,
got to have a little
yeah. That
competition.
was like, okay, like I need to carve my own path. Yeah, I mean, and like, I'm obviously saying a little bit of that in jest, but like,
A little bit.
there was some truth to that though. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something on my own terms. I didn't want to follow in their footsteps in any way. And so the Marine Corps gave me that opportunity, and yeah, I was off to Paris Island at 19.
Mm.
That's pretty wild. So how long did you spend in an active duty in the Marine Corps, Josh?
8 years, 8 months, and 23 days.
Nice. That is pretty cool to be
Yeah.
able to
Is that
read
Yeah.
that.
common? Everybody's
Does
counting out
everybody
those
know that?
days like
Does
that.
everybody know that?
I mean, I feel like your first 4 years, people often speak of it as like, hey, when are you getting out? Almost like, when are you getting out of jail? But I re-enlisted. And so I did my first 5 years in a rifle platoon with
Hmm.
from 99 to '03 with multiple deployments. And then I got hurt. And I couldn't really do the like kicking indoors thing anymore.
Hmm.
But I wanted to stay in the Marine Corps, so I had to figure out something else to do. A friend of mine had gotten into communications, public affairs, they call it, and so I was curious about that. You could write, and as a kid, I loved like opening the sports page on in the morning in the paper, and always thought that would be a cool job. So they sent me to journalism school, and I learned how to write and take photos and edit and do all of that stuff. And so before I knew it, I spent my first 5 years in Spain, and then when I got my new job, they transferred me to San Diego. So had a pretty couple
That's
good
pretty
duty
good. Yeah.
stations.
That's not bad. Yeah.
And then I spent my last 2 years in New York City, which was
Nice.
also really good. So great golf. And when I was in San Diego, I got the resident rate for Torrey Pines, which was $30 to play. And then when I was in New York, I got the resident rate for Bethpage, which was also $30 to play.
Wow.
So
Nice.
it was also a really great introduction to me to golf, because I had never played anything other than your average muni. Didn't really have any understanding at all about golf course architecture and what the game was like, beyond muni life, really. And that was kind of my first introduction to it. And then I got to meet you guys at Scioto, which was a whole different level. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you went from average muni to really good muni there with those two. That's for sure.
yeah.
So spending 8 years, 8 months, 38 days, if I remember that correctly, if you just said that in the Marine Corps, I would imagine that you experienced a lot of discipline. You had to learn a lot of leadership, things like that. And again, that is an imagination because I could never do something like that. So respect the heck out of you, first of all, for doing that. But how was that kind of bled into your experience in the outside world with those
Mhm.
things, or were there any specific moments as a Marine that shaped you and kind of the way that you see leadership today?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think my entire Marine Corps experience, I feel like was one that impacts kind of every aspect of my life, from obviously from my professional life and to my personal life. My what I feel like what kind of a man I am, and I feel like the me that existed prior to the Marine Corps was just so different from the me that existed after it. Like, it really was a life changing moment in so many ways, um, that it was kind of unrecognizable in some ways. But like, yeah, I don't know if there was one particular moment, Hunter, but I kind of look at it in a bit more broad strokes. Um, the Marine Corps instilled in me discipline and commitment and fight and integrity and character and dedication, and all of those things. And it's still a big part of who I am today. And I feel like the lessons that I learned in the Corps, I carry with me. They will sort of always say that the Marine Corps is the greatest leadership school in the country. And I feel like I was fortunate to be put in leadership positions during my time, and especially very young. I was promoted very quickly. I was a sergeant at 21 years old, which was,
Wow, yeah. Yeah.
a lot of my peers who were sergeants were 28 or 30 or more. And so I got thrust into leadership positions at a young age without any experience, and it really kind of was being thrown to the fire. And you're forced to grow up very quickly, especially when it's wartime. And you get to test those skills, really, in real life situation. So, yeah, I
Were
mean,
were,
I
were
think
you were you kind of, sorry to cut you off. Were
yeah,
you always that way as a kid, like that? I mean, 21 years old, I imagine being, or was that kind
yeah.
of just something that happened and that you had to learn how to be that person, or was that something that kind of came not naturally? Because I don't think leadership is necessarily natural. It's definitely a learned skill, but yeah, just give us a little insight there.
Yeah, I think, as a kid, I was always super competitive
Hmm.
in sports. Sports was my thing. Like if there was a ball, I could do it. I mean, I'd be the best at it, but like I could always play. Academics was not my strong suit. Like I could not pay attention. Like I understood the material. Like it wasn't like I couldn't comprehend it sort of a situation. I just wasn't really interested.
Hmm.
Sports gave me that immediate feedback. You won or you didn't. You got a hit or you didn't. You made the tackle or you didn't. You scored or you didn't. And academics for me was not that way. So like I was always super competitive, and I think that and always very physical. So I think that you know that lends itself well to what my experience in the Marine Corps was. Like if you were tough and you were physical, you're probably going to do well.
Yeah, being used to working on a team, I would assume
Yeah,
that lends itself to
yeah,
that a bit too, for sure.
absolutely.
Another
But I
thing
was
I
a knucklehead as a kid, man. I was an absolute knucklehead.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
my grades were just high enough to stay eligible to play sports, and um I wasn't going anywhere, man. When I signed up for the Marine Corps, I was working at a Blockbuster. I had installed carpet. I had, washed dishes. Like
Mhm.
I wasn't going to college, and I didn't have any prospects for any sort of career beyond hourly wage position.
Sure.
So it was a huge decision for me looking back on it.
If you've been listening to the For Love of Golf podcast, you know that we've been spending some time in our cricket apparel. And it just kind of fits with what we're about at For Love of Golf, right? It's comfortable, it's got awesome style, it's a fun company, kind of an easy vibe, and the clothes kind of go with that, right? You can wear them on and off the course. That's just one of the reasons why we're excited to have Cricket as the official apparel provider of the For Love of Golf podcast. We are genuinely really enjoying the gear, and if you're thinking about refreshing your closet a bit, we'd definitely tell you to give Cricket a look. Feels good, looks good, kind of goes with the stuff we love about the game, right? Give them a chance. Go get some Cricket gear. Use the coupon code FORLOVE of 19. It'll let them know we sent you. And see what you think. Let us know. Cricket shirts, go check them out.
So one of the things I would assume your time in the military also developed in you is would be the ability to adapt to changing environments, to
Hmm.
new situations. But I always hear how much of a struggle it can be for people to adapt from military life to civilian life. What was that period of your life like? Did you thrive during that change, or was it a struggle for you? And how did you go from, communications to Scioto and getting in the
Yeah.
golf world?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Ryan. And like, it was a really Parker probably remembers some of this, but it was a really difficult time in my life because I I thought that I was probably going to stay in the Marine Corps to 20 years, right? Like I had done almost 9. Like you're halfway there. So it's like there was a real fork in the road. It was
Mhm.
like, because you can retire at 20 years. So when I got to roughly 9 years, it was kind of like the question wasn't, do I want to do another 4 years? The question was, am I going to do another 11 years, right, to get me to 20? Um, and if not, then it's time to go. So I had a really kind of traumatic experience in my personal life. My girlfriend at the time, her younger sister had passed away unexpectedly. She was killed, and she was a single mother of a 3-year-old little girl. That happened in that happened 9 months before I was supposed to get out, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Um, but that event happening, in my view, totally changed the calculus. Um, this little girl, had already lost a parent in a very violent way, and I was not going to be in the position where I got sent back to a war zone and she loses a second parent. And so right then, like I became a parent overnight to a 3-year-old little girl, um, and I made the choice to leave the Marine Corps and go back to school and just figure it out, man. So it was like, I didn't have this grand plan and all of this stuff. It was very much like, you sort of referenced it in your question. One of the things that we talk about in the Marine Corps a lot is this adapt and overcome,
Mhm.
right? And it was like I had to adapt to my situation and overcome some really horrific uh, circumstances and that I was not prepared for, and just deal with it. Just try to do the
Yeah.
best that you can and with the information that you have. And so that led me back to Ohio State and Scioto, where I first met Parker and Hunter. And I was a 29-year-old freshman married with a kid. So I was in a very different position from my peers
Yeah.
in terms of life experience. Um, but in a lot of ways, I was very similar to them too, right? Because I was making 8.50 an hour, picking the range and folding t-shirts and grabbing bags and cleaning clubs and washing carts and doing all of that stuff. So just trying to kind of earn your way, um, uh, and learn the golf industry at a place like Scioto with Bill Steins and a couple other people there that are just legends in the industry that I just deeply, deeply wanted to learn from. Like my Marine Corps experience and being around really exceptional leaders,
Hmm.
that's what I was seeking
Mhm.
there. And I had a chance to go other places. Parker probably remembers. And I chose to stay because I really wanted, you know, I felt like, I was loyal to Scioto, and I really felt like, uh, you know, that was going to be best for me in the long run, is being able to learn from Bill and others there like Sarge and guys who are actually like our friends still today and that were our peers that I'm still in touch with, like Bobby Sneed is who's now the general manager at Wedgwood Country Club in Columbus. We were bag boys together. And then Joe Filardo, who's now the director of golf at Scioto, like we went through the PGM program together. So
Mhm.
those, it was just an extraordinary experience, but it was difficult coming out of the Marine Corps and trying to navigate all of that stuff that I was dealing with in my personal life. Also trying to figure out how to pass algebra, uh, how to pass calculus
Yeah.
at Scioto after not having a math class for 10 years.
Mhm.
And do all the academics, try to be a good husband, try to be a good father, try to learn the golf business. It was a tough time, but wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you. I
that's
appreciate that.
a pretty big change, obviously, coming back. I mean, hopefully, I'm sure golf was something that was maybe grounding a little bit, calming a little bit, just like a just a totally different thing from what you
Hmm.
were doing. Um, and obviously that became, something I'm sure at some point in your mind, you were thinking golf is going to be, my career moving forward, so you spent obviously time doing that. Um, but then, you would go on after that to go work at what's the NICE or whatever, National Intrepid Center of Excellence.
Nyko, yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about like, I'm sure there was a point where you were like, it's golf or it's this, it's something else. So, was there a time that you can look back and say, like, I think I want to do something. I'm in the golf business, so I feel like I can say this. Like it was there a time where you felt like I want to do something a little bit more significant than work in a game, because
Yeah.
you went from working in golf, and we haven't even gotten to the next stage of your career yet.
Right.
Like the roles that you've had, and it's really interesting. So, and now you're back in golf. We'll get to that too, but
Yeah.
was there a time where you were like, I think I'm not done serving and doing something a little bit more
Yeah.
significant?
Well, like I mean, I think the short answer to that question is no. Like I didn't have this, man, I need to be doing something with that's more weighty or meaningful in some way. Um, I kind of got the proverbial offer you cannot refuse. Um, and I remember it like it was yesterday. Again, I was making $8.50 an hour with a wife and a daughter and a mortgage and everything that comes along with that. Waiting tables at nighttime, trying to make ends meet. Was going into my senior year at Ohio State, and no promises from anyone that for any positions or anything like that. I knew how competitive golf was. This was 2010, so right around the recession and housing crisis, and I'm like, man, like I'm about to graduate, the economy sucks, like what am I going to do? Am I going to be able to find a job? Is it going to be here? Am I going to have to move? Had all of these questions that I was thinking about, and then out of the blue, man, one day I was sitting in class at Ohio State and my phone rang, and it was a number from New York. And I was like, man, something told me like you got to take this call. And so like I got up out of class, I walked out of class to take this call from this unknown number. And it turned out to be that a relationship that I made during my last 2 years in the Marine Corps in New York City, they were donating $65 million to build a clinical research institute for traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Washington. And they wanted me to run their communications. And I mean, I was beyond flattered. I was like, this is a godsend, right? Like the position paid $65,000 a year. And I was like, that to me was all of the money on the planet. Like when you're making 850 an hour and
Yeah.
picking the
Yeah.
range and like bussing tables at a red sauce Italian joint, like I think my taxes the year before I claimed like $11,000 in income. Like that to me was it was everything. I couldn't say no. Um, so like I withdrew from classes at Ohio State and moved to Washington and was just like, I'm going to figure it out. Um, and so like, yeah, I ended up being the spokesman for it's called NICO, the National Intrepid Center of Excellence, The mission was basically to take care of guys coming home from combat with traumatic brain injury from blasts and things like that, and severe post-traumatic stress. And it was kind of the model was basically kind of a Mayo Clinic model where, like, if you've gone to other places and you've tried to get better and you're just not getting better and they can't figure it out, then you come here. And they did all of this, like all of these therapy modalities that were just not offered traditionally at military hospitals, like art therapy and music therapy and acupuncture and all of this stuff. And it was amazing to be a part of that, to help them build something from the ground up and kind of be a plank owner of that organization. But most of all, it was so rewarding to see guys. We had these SEALs, these Marines, these Delta Force guys who just had so many combat deployments you can't count, who were just absolutely broken and on 10, 20, 30 different medications for physical pain, for psychological issues, to see them come in there basically as a last resort. Guys who had, and it wasn't uncommon to have patients who had attempted suicide. Guys who just came in there so broken, and to see them leave, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, so much better than when they got there, was incredibly powerful to be a part of. And like, I remember thinking, like, this is my calling. Like, I'm never going to leave this place. Like, I have so much in common with these patients, and I had so much credibility with them because of our shared experiences, that I love telling their stories. I love the mission, and I thought I would never leave. And then, things happen, and so another proverbial offer you cannot refuse comes along. So
yeah. So tell us about that. So what was the next role? What was the next opportunity for you?
yeah, so I spent about 5 years at NICO. It was amazing. And then I got an opportunity to become the press secretary for the U.S. Attorney in Virginia. And so, I knew nothing about the law, but they wanted all of the other stuff that I sort of brought to the table. And so I kind of rolled the dice a bit and did that. And I spent 7 years as the spokesman for the U.S. Attorney there, which is one of the most prominent U.S. Attorney's offices in the country. Prosecuted, countless really significant cases, from national security and terrorism to major fraud and, sex trafficking and gang cases and other violent crime. It was also, like, again, kind of the theme here is this mission-based, these mission-based roles, that where you just feel like what you're doing on a daily basis matters. And so that was really satisfying and rewarding. And so, yeah, I spent 7 years doing that. And from 2014 to 2020, so almost 7 years. During that time, I'd also, I was asked to be the spokesman for the special counsel's office during the Russia investigation. So that sort of brought me, again, like, what the job ended up being was essentially crisis communications at the highest level. This is the major leagues, and, for better, for worse, your organization's on the front page of the newspaper on a daily basis. And, like, how do you navigate that? And then on January 4th of 2021, 2 days before January 6th, I became national spokesman for the Department of Justice in Washington. And so,
oh man,
talk about, like, drinking from the fire hose, like, and it was, I was going to say funny, but it wasn't funny. This was a time where it was, the Trump people had left, but the Biden people weren't in yet. And I was, just to be clear, I was in a non-political position. I was a
Mm-hmm.
career public servant, not interested in politics. That's what I loved about the Department of Justice, is that it was about the law and it wasn't about red or
Mm-hmm.
blue or left or right. It was supposed to be about, what does the law say? Um, and so, as a career person, we are kind of holding down the fort. There was about four of us holding down the fort, after the Trump politicals left and before the Biden politicals came in. And so that was a wild time. And I just, I had, just, I was able to kind of obviously be very close to all of that stuff. Um, and the team that I was a part of there was just extraordinary. I mean, just like watching, I mean, you could probably relate it to golf in a lot of ways. Like if you're in a foursome with three PGA Tour players, you're playing the same game that they're playing, but like they're way better than you.
Yeah.
And so like I got to see up close like some true pros um at their craft.
Can you go into that just a little bit, like what that means when you say that? Like what does that mean? Like they know how to craft the right messages and bring the right ideas behind things. Like
Yeah.
tell us more about that.
Yeah, look, I think the most important part of communications, and especially crisis communications at that level, is listening, quite frankly. It's listening to the reporters who are constantly coming into your office and asking about certain pieces of information that they have and whether it's true or not and should they pursue it or not. And it's listening to the leaders that you're working with and trying to making sure that you have a good understanding of what their interests are and where their strengths and weaknesses are. And I think it's listening to your colleagues and kind of drawing off of those experiences. But yeah, part of it is absolutely it's crafting the message, but it's, I always viewed my job as speaking the truth. And I would always tell reporters, you know, whenever we got a new beat reporter at the Justice Department, I don't care if it was Fox or CNN or the Post or New York Times or AP or BBC or Bloomberg, Reuters, didn't matter. I would always tell them, look, I'm going to tell you the truth as I understand it. I'm never going to spin something. So like, I'm not I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not on anybody's team. So like, I really felt like, and I would never compromise my integrity for a message. I had opportunities to join political teams and go
Mm-hmm.
be a spokesman, go be a political spokesperson for both parties, actually. And I declined those both times because I never wanted to be in a position where I felt like I would have to spin something or put some you know, uh, political spin on a message that would challenge my integrity or my character. I just wasn't going to do that. And so, I and in the Justice Department and people at the White House and at DOD, like there's so many people that are committed that in the very same way. And when I fully expected to continue. I fully expected to work there until I retired. I'm 46,
Common theme.
man, and
It's a
my
common
early
common
retirement age.
theme. You had so many
Yeah,
jobs that you loved and wanted to keep doing them, and
yeah.
life kept throwing
Um,
you curves.
well, yeah, and this curve was like, you know, I'd worked under Trump the first time, and I worked under Biden, I'd worked under Obama, and I fully expected to work under Trump this time. But when their team came in, they basically said, if you're not political, you're not welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I had to, you know,
Put your
resign.
money where your mouth is at that
I
point, kind
did,
of,
man,
right? Yeah.
because yeah, I was also the spokesman for Jack Smith and special counsel, and like I was gonna get fired. I mean, that's just all there was to it. If you're associated with anything that they didn't like, you're gonna get fired.
Mm.
And so I just decided to play offense instead of defense, and instead of waiting around for the guillotine to drop, I just said, you know what, this is an inevitability. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and resign and try to take some sort of control of my own destiny. And then that's how I ended up down here in the Carolinas.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that that's probably maybe the most important messaging you did in that entire job was for yourself. You had to get out there and give the message of what you stood for, and before it was spoken for you. So I
Yep.
respect you for being able to do that, because I'm like you said, you wanted to keep doing that job, and that was another difficult decision you had to make to
Yeah.
in your career and personal life and all those things that come with job changes. So thanks for
You
sharing
Yeah.
that.
became quite
Man.
famous. You became quite famous in your role.
Well,
Your letter is circulated in many places online.
my
Your
resignation
resignation
letter.
letter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was to be clear, that letter was sent internally. So I figured it would probably find its way out into the world at some point or another, but I didn't expect it to be immediately. um, but yeah, man, like I just feel like somebody said to me that, like, never prostitute your integrity for a job,
Yeah.
and that really stuck with me. And I was just like, you know what? I'm not saying that it's guaranteed to happen, but I felt pretty sure that, like, I was going to be asked to do something that would challenge my integrity. And I just did not want to be put in that position.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just decided to pen that resignation letter, and then and say my goodbyes. And it's really difficult when you have climbed to the highest level that you can possibly be, and then to walk away from that voluntarily, which
Sort of.
was yeah, I mean, I do feel like my hand was forced, but, like,
Yeah.
in all fairness, like, I had a bunch of colleagues that stayed.
Yeah.
And I could have made that choice as well. So, but I'm happy to be here in Wilmington and doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So, I mean, you left the world of kind of PR, but you kept, obviously, the pen is very mighty and you kept using it. Now you're just using it to tell different types of stories. So, I mean, you kind of told us, when you got to the point where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go do
Mhm.
something else. So, I mean, this was your current job was not in the picture at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
So,
no.
so like, what was the in between like, and then get us to this point to kind of where we are now,
Yeah.
and tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah. So after I resigned, my wife and I were like, you know what? We don't have to be here anymore. She's fully remote. DC just felt very heavy at the time. And so we had vacationed in Wilmington and had loved it. And it's very similar to where we lived in Old Town Alexandria, just outside of DC, a historic port city. And so we found an old Victorian here, and moved down and started working on it. And I kind of joked with my wife that that I wasn't going to get another job. Like, I was just going to be a kept man
The dream right there.
for the rest of my life. But yeah, no, a good friend of mine in the golf industry, Glenn Gray, at Buffalo Group. I'd known him for years. We'd done the kind of the 100-hole hike for Youth on Course together and some other things. And um, he was just like, hey man, like, there's this job at the Carolinas Golf Association. They're looking for somebody senior to come in, and it's a position that they haven't previously had, but they want somebody senior to come in and run all of their media and marketing efforts. And I'd had a couple opportunities over the years to work in golf when I was at the Justice Department. Because I was, I'd written for the Golfers Journal and done stuff with National Links Trust and Link Soul and Dormy Network and other things. And so, um, but I had always resisted those opportunities. One, because I had a good job that I loved. But two, my job was incredibly stressful. There at one point I had 4 cell phones during
Sounds
that job,
terrible.
which was wild. I don't even want the one that I have now.
Yeah.
But I say that only to illustrate the point that it was really stressful. And golf was always like my escape. Golf was like the thing that I did for fun, to like take my mind off of work. And so when these opportunities to work in golf came along, I was like, man, I don't want to. Like, I want golf to be my fun thing. I don't want golf to be work.
Yeah.
And so, but given the circumstances, I was like, well, look, man, if I'm ever going to now I don't have a job, like I'm literally unemployed. So if I don't, if I'm ever going to do this, am I ever going to give golf another shot? Like, now's the time. So I met with them and it ended up working out. And, I took over all of their media marketing efforts. And one of the very first things that I realized was Carolina's Golf Magazine was an absolute sleeping giant. Like, it goes out. Carolina's Golf Association is the second largest golf association in the United States, behind only Florida. That magazine goes out to nearly 250,000 members across North and South Carolina. And it just, it didn't have much in it. It was very focused on elite amateur golf. A lot of pictures of guys holding trophies. And it was kind of filled with stories that were kind of sourced from other places, or I feel like it was one of those magazines where you kind of got in the mail and you were like, you glanced at it for a second and you probably tossed it. And I just felt like, man, this is a massive platform. And the audience is affluent, engaged, money to spend. Like, this is, partners would love this. But we've got to turn it into something that's more than what it is now. And so I kind of poured myself into that. And that's what kind of really kind of started me on this path. I'm no longer with the CGA. I have my own company, but still running Carolina's Golf and serving as editor-in-chief. And I'm super excited. I have a great partnership with Carolina's Golf Association, their executive director, Andy Priest. And, we're super, super excited for some of the plans that we have for 2027.
Yeah, that's awesome. The magazine, first of all, is like awesome. It's beautiful. It's incredibly well shot. The winter 2025 issue, the cover photo, I have a particular affinity for.
Yeah.
Because I grew up about 400 yards from where that picture is taken.
Oh, wow.
So
Waynesville. Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. So literally that's an old par 5, new par 5 too, but literally right around the corner there is where I grew up. So I used to basically walk from my house and walk out there and play as a kid with Parker and a bunch of other guys for sure. But where, like, what or who are some of your influences on your work, or like your inspiration for the aesthetics of it, the vibe of it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think anybody that's kind of, consumed golf media over the last handful of years, quickly recognizes Golfers Journal. I wrote for them and kind of worked with them on several different things. Parker mentioned the event that we did, a handful of years ago. I absolutely, I love those guys. I admire those guys so much, Brendan and Travis and Casey and Christian and Kojo, and they're just, what they've put together is just, I feel like they're the best in class. And so, what I wanted to do is kind of sort of take my experiences and that kind of inspiration and apply it to the Carolinas. And so, I knew right away, like, okay, if I'm going to do this, what do you need more than anything? Like, you need incredible visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to get incredible visuals is to find ridiculously talented photographers. And so, fortunately for me, fortunately for us, the Carolinas has a disproportionate amount of incredibly talented creatives. So, I started like, I called Baisden, I called Ryan Barnett, I called a couple other people that I knew from my Golfers Journal time and just previous Golf World stuff. And I just said like, hey, I want to totally transform this magazine. I want to build it into something beautiful, something human centered, something where we do short form storytelling. So we're not doing the long form Golfers Journal stuff. We're doing kind of shorter, more easily digestible stories, but really, really focused on visuals. And they were all like, yeah, I'm on board. Hey, also, you should talk to this guy. And so those conversations kind of organically happened. And before I knew it, I had 10, 12 guys. And I was kind of having all of these conversations individually with them. And so then I was like, well, why should just put us all on one big text string? Like these guys all kind of either all know each other or know of each other. And so that's kind of how the Carolinas Golf Collective was born. It was a very organic thing. I wish I could say that I was like super strategic about it and I thought of this great idea from the jump. But it just kind of, like most good things, it kind of happened organically. And so founded the Carolinas Golf Collective, incredible creatives throughout the Carolinas, and they're really kind of the creative storytelling engine of Carolinas golf. And so, like, you just mentioned, Hunter, like the images that you saw of Waynesville on the cover and Grandfather and Linville Ridge and Sequoia and, and on and on and on, those are shot by not just some of the most talented creatives in the Carolinas, but some of the most talented creators in golf, period. Like you're talking about guys like Matt Jr. and Matt Gibson, Billy Richards, Drew Amato, Joe Davison. Like these guys are just at the top of their game. And I'm just so grateful to be able to work with them.
Yeah,
So-
that's great. I see Hook and Gaff in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in the last issue for sure.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, one of the sponsors of the show, right?
Exactly
That's
right.
right.
Yeah,
They're on
absolutely.
every episode here too.
Mhm.
Nice.
So I know
Shout
you
out.
haven't.
Just quick moon phase update for
Oh
you guys.
Lord, here we
Should
go.
not be any moon tonight. Just in case you can't see it on there, you shouldn't be able to see too much moon tonight.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Back to the regular scheduled programming here.
Lord have mercy. Josh, I know you haven't been there that long, but what has been the most memorable or interesting story that you've come across so far since you've been there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think one that we did I'm excited to share with you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of the spring issue.
All right.
But one that we published already, I loved meeting Car Crow out at Sequoia.
We all went to school with him. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. He's such a humble guy. When I first kind of heard the high level story of him, like, oh, there's this Native American head golf professional at Sequoia, and he's one of the very few Native American PGA members in the country. That piqued my interest, right? And it's at a beautiful place. It's in the Carolinas. It's in the fall. Like, wow, everything is lining up. And then I go out there to talk with him, and I mean, he was wonderful. I mean, absolutely super friendly but it was hard for me to get him to talk about himself. He's such a humble guy. He wants to talk about his team and talk about the tribe and talk about the place. And talk about his family and all of that. And so like, but being able to pull some like, okay, Carr, but like, tell me about you, right? Like,
Yeah.
what it was it was a little difficult, but it was also, he's coming from such a pure place, and such a good place. And I just love doing that story. I love spending time with him. I loved hearing about the history of that land and the kind of the deeper meaning. When I talk to people about Carolina's golf, and kind of what my vision for it is, you know, oftentimes I'll say like I want to go beyond the scorecard. Like, you know, I I can appreciate, guys who are plus threes and plus fours and holding up trophies and all of that stuff. But like, we talk about a lot in golf, like the best part of golf is what happens in between the shots. Like that's what I'm interested in. Um, and so I think Carr's story really kind of is emblematic of that. Like he is just truly a high character, good person who is doing it for all of the right reasons. And it was an honor to kind of tell his story.
Awesome.
Yeah. Shout out Carr. Good to hear
Yeah.
his name.
Yeah,
Haven't
absolutely.
seen him in a little bit. He's an
Yeah.
awesome guy.
He's the man.
Okay, so Carr aside, who is someone in golf, and you can use the Carolinas if you want, or you can use anywhere, but who's someone that more people should know about and why? Or maybe better phrases like whose story would you want to tell?
Um, Let me kind of kind of two names kind of immediately come to mind. Um, One, I think kind of people super in the know will probably recognize, but Matt Gibson at Pinehurst. Um, he's kind of the chief photographer for Pinehurst. Anything that you see on their socials or whatever else probably came from him. Incredibly talented, British guy, went to university at St. Andrews, like grew up around the game, worked at Golf Channel um, and NBC and and found his way to Pinehurst. And now he is basically telling the story of one of the most visible golf destinations on the planet to the world. And so he's incredibly talented. He is as high character as you can get. And it would not surprise me one bit if 10, 20 years from now, he is the president of Pinehurst and is leading, one of the biggest golf resorts on the planet. Like he's that smart, he's that talented, he's that high character. And so like he's someone who every time I spend time with him, I'm just, you know, I'm just blown away by the person that he is. And so he's one. And then I don't have a name for this second one, Parker. And if you guys know someone, let me know. But I know it's this kind of faceless person. Um, I want to tell the story of someone who has um, healed or had recovery through golf, potentially through the PGA Hope program. Um, I talked earlier about my experience at NICO and working with combat injured veterans who are really suffering physically and psychologically. I know that there are similar stories out there, and that programs like PGA Hope and others have kind of helped, provide an environment to guys that have helped them heal in certain ways. And so that's the kind of that's the story that I want to tell at some point. And um, once I find the right person who's in the right place and able to share their story in a healthy way, that's something that I want to do next. So
We'll chat afterwards.
okay, good. You got a
Yep,
lead for me?
I
Nice.
do. Yep,
Nice.
100%.
That's cool. What has surprised you most, and this could be from your previous experience or now, about working in the golf industry?
Um, Man, what has surprised me most about working in the golf industry? I mean, uh, look, I mean, let me kind of put my my spokesperson hat on, Hunter, and redirect the question a little bit and answer the question that I want to answer instead of the one that you asked.
Yeah, I like that.
Uh, so,
Nice work.
um, like my favorite part about of working in golf has, I mean, it's cliche to say, but it has been the people. Like, and
Mm.
I look up here at you guys, and we met nearly 20 years ago now, right? Like those friendships endure. I went 10 years without talking to Parker, probably 8 years. And we picked up right where we left off. And I needed help with something. And he jumped in and literally got in his car and drove hours to help me. And then, years passed again. And now here we are, and our paths have crossed multiple times over the past year in this role. And so, I think that just illustrates, those relationships and how they endure. And um,
Yeah, and
I
like
think that's been my favorite part.
it's cool listening to you talk about your life and how much just literally that, the relationships that you've created and fostered, and that's been on you to do that as well. Obviously, there's good fortune in that too, but like it sounds like you've been pretty intentional with those relationships, and that takes thought and kindness and intention to really have that. So it's cool that it kind of comes full circle for you as well too, and it's been a
Yeah.
big part of yours. And that's, I mean, that's why we're all in, or where we all got into golf was because of some sort of relationship, whether it was
Right.
with a father figure, or male figure, or whoever it was that got us into golf. And I made literal lifelong friends through golf,
Yeah.
three of which that are on this podcast, and many others. And it's like coming from a small town in Western North Carolina, it's crazy how
Yeah.
connected it actually all is from Steins. I mean, he's the most connected
Right.
person in golf probably. So like that's the connection for
Yeah.
all of us, but like it's really
Right.
cool. And that is definitely golf for sure.
100%, man.
What would be advice that you would give someone who is facing a significant life pivot? Like you've faced many that we've talked about, whether it was getting out of the military, taking care of a child, um, leaving a job you thought you would be in the rest of your career multiple times. What have been some common um, thought processes you had, or looking back on all those events, like what's one thing that was the same each time, whether you knew it at the time or not, that you
Yeah.
would have either told yourself or told somebody going through something similar?
Yeah, Ryan. Like I think that, something, a phrase that we used in the Marine Corps, I think kind of I've carried with me, and it just applies, across all of these situations. Is don't fall in love with your plan,
Mhm.
you know, and the implication there is that it's going to change.
Yeah.
Right, there are going to be things that you can't account for, that you can't foresee. In the Marine Corps sense, like when you're going into battle, like the battlefield is chaotic. You have no idea how the enemy is going to react to what you've done, and or what you've planned, and what your actions are. And and that applies to kind of life too. Like you can, I'm sure all of us, 10 years ago, whatever, 5 years ago, last year, we're kind of sitting there with your coffee in the morning thinking about what your life is going to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And it's probably very different, right, than you imagined it would have been. So, in many different ways. So that kind of idea of don't fall in love with your plan, I think for me that kind of means, you know, have an open mind, and like try to roll with the punches a little bit, do the best with you can with the information that you have, and move on. And so, I feel like those experiences that I've had, I've tried to kind of apply that kind of thinking to those events. And I will say, like, working in crisis communications, you know, my previous boss would say to me, like, something, we would be like knee deep in like really difficult matters. Um, and I remember one of them in particular coming to me, and she was like, "How can you stay so calm in a moment like this?" Like, in a way, she was a little like frustrated that I wasn't as worked up as she was, but then she was also kind of like thankful that there was at least someone in the room that wasn't, flipping out. Um, and I think it's because I've kind of I've experienced, you know, um, I've experienced things that have given me a good perspective that, like, look, this isn't life and death. No one's shooting at you. Everything is going to be fine. You're not going to die. Um, but also, like, just kind of applying that mindset to those really difficult situations, and whether it's a job change or a family crisis, or whatever it is. It's fortunately, I've had experiences that I think give me a perspective to be able to kind of navigate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I work in financial planning, and my job is trying
Mhm.
to help people look forward,
Yeah.
into the future for that. But, we're always running these projections, and one of the things I always say is, the only thing correct about this is the math. It's guaranteed to be different.
Right.
You
Yeah.
do all the right things and make all the right plans, and it's just not going to look like this when we look at it
Yep.
5 years from now. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't plan. It doesn't mean
Absolutely.
what's the other saying? Failing to plan is planning to fail, or something like
Right.
that. You have to make some kind of conscientious decision to move in one direction or the other. But like you said, you can't fall in love with how you
Yeah.
expect it to be, because it just won't be.
Absolutely.
Just we've got a few more quick ones, so we'll let you get out of here.
Yeah.
I know it's late, but um, I mean, wild career, an awesome career, just doing so many different things. How do you define success now versus maybe 23-year-old Joshua,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is in a very significant place in life at 23?
Yeah, man. I think that I think, like a lot of young people, I probably define success as, like, I tied it to like what my salary was and what my rank was and what awards I had earned and or received, and um, what I had done in relation to my peers. And I think I know today, and it's just through the value of life experience that you come to a point where you realize none of that matters, right? Like,
Mhm.
Yep.
how much money you make doesn't matter. Um, what your title is doesn't matter. Um, what pieces of paper with, you know, I mean, that degree is hanging on my wall. Doesn't really matter to anybody but but to me. Um, like, I just, all of that stuff is like, yes, they're achievements. Yes, they're kind of, they represent effort and something that you've poured yourself into. But, like, you can't take that with you, at the end of the day when it's all said and done. So, I think, kind of, to answer your question, Parker, like, success today, I feel like I get that primarily from my own satisfaction.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever really thought about it, but just like saying that out loud, that sounds a little selfish. But like, I want to be happy with expending what I'm exchanging my time for, right? Like all of us, our time is finite. And
Mm.
what are you what are you exchanging your time for? Because you don't get that back. You don't get today back. You don't get yesterday back. There's no do-overs. So like, how are you spending that time? Do you wake up every day and hate your job? Because if you do, maybe you want to think about how you spend that time. Maybe you want to think about something else. I get satisfaction out of like, right now, just as like a tangible example, like I love I love going out on these shoots for Carolina's Golf Magazine and working with these creatives. Like it is so satisfying to me to be around people who are incredibly passionate about what they're doing, and are incredibly talented. And I eat that up, man. Like I soak it up. I love it. It doesn't matter what the skill is. Like when you're around people who are like the best at what they do,
Yeah.
that's intoxicating. Um, and then of course I get so much happiness out of spending time with my wife and my dogs and seeing my girls. That's also cliche, but it's cliche because it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's my happiness comes from my family, and it comes from doing projects that I'm passionate about for my own reasons. Like I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing it because it's meaningful to me.
Mm. So, Josh, next time we chat, what talking about plans and things like that, but what do you hope has happened? What do you hope has happened the next time we get to get an update from you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I hope Carolina's golf continues to grow. You guys know we have so many incredible stories here in the Carolinas where it's an embarrassment of riches,
Mm.
from the golf perspective here. And so, I'm hopeful that we continue to do meaningful storytelling, that we, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll have a YouTube series. Maybe we'll have a
Right.
podcast. Maybe we'll have some other platforms to do some really cool storytelling, um, and dive into more stories like Card Crow and and others, and be able to get the amazing creatives that we have here in the Carolinas out to tell those stories,
Mm.
and really showcase them the way that they deserve to be showcased.
Mm. That's great. No,
Love
that's
it.
cool.
Yeah.
So in that vein, where can we find the magazine? Where can our listeners find
Yeah.
you? Where can they get a copy? Is it digital? Is it in print? Can they get
Yeah.
both? What's the best way
Yeah. So,
to
like, if you're a
interact?
member of the Carolinas Golf Association, which I hope you all are, you should be on the mailing list. And if you're not, let me know, and I will do my best to add you to that list. But yeah, the magazine comes out in print quarterly. The next one will be out the first week of April.
That's a good time.
It
There
is
we
a
go.
it's a Masters themed issue. Super excited about it. We have a story called The Road to Augusta, which is kind of this road trip from Pinehurst down to Augusta. Stopped at some great places along the way, got places that you guys know, like Camden Country Club and Palmetto and others. Um, we've got a story on the old Azalea Open at Cape Fear Country Club in
Nice.
Wilmington.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact for you, Parker, I feel like this is right up your alley. I learned this when I was interviewing the former director of golf, Joey Hines, there. Um,
What a great guy. That's somebody we need to have on this show too.
he's played every major championship course
Yeah, I
out
think
there.
Oh,
I
that's
think
cool.
I remember that in some form. He was trying to finish up maybe the U.S. Open list or something.
Yeah, so he's finished it, and now he's moved on to Ryder Cups. So you wanna talk golf courses with a guy? That's your. He's at Hound Ears too. Like he's
Mm.
kind of
Okay. I didn't know
right up
that.
that way.
Yep.
But yeah, talking with Joey Hines, he gave me a fun fact about the old about Cape Fear Country Club. 9 of the 11 winningest major champions in the history of golf have teed it up at Cape Fear.
Oh, nice.
The only 2 who haven't is Walter Hagen and Tiger Woods.
Wow. It's kind
You
of
got to get
bookend.
Tiger out there. I'm sure.
Pretty remarkable. Yeah. Cape Fear Country Club is quietly like,
That's cool.
yeah.
You need to
Quiet
lobby
history.
for a U.S.
Yeah.
Senior Open.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Something,
Champions
and,
Tour event or something.
yeah.
Get him out there.
Absolutely. But yeah, so have a story on the Azalea Open, which is really cool. Have a story on golf course architect George Cobb, who designed the par 3 course at Augusta National, and renovated or designed over 200 courses throughout the Carolinas. And then we do have a piece on uh, amateur golfers from the Carolinas who've played in the Masters as amateurs. And kind of hearing first person narratives from them and personal photos, and so super pumped for the spring issue.
Heck yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been great. Really appreciate you doing this. I think there could be a part 2 and 3 in this. So hopefully you can be like a guest in residence, and
Yeah, sure.
we'll bring you back on here and tell some more stories. But I
Awesome.
appreciate you doing it late night and bringing back
Yeah.
some good Scioto memories for us.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys. I appreciate the invite.